people always phrase as I'm falling behind. No, you falling behind is because you didn't try. I never not give you opportunity. I always review the question that you already studied. So, question 4. Yes, a lot of people they say find an equation on line perpendicular to 3x plus 4y equal to 12. So I'm gonna tell you that I'm gonna show you the graph. I'm gonna show you that if I go into 3x minus 4y equal to 12, so I'm gonna say it's 3x minus 4y equal to 12. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, it's plus 4y.
Yeah.
Plus 4y? Okay. So let's change this to plus. And what is the point? Where's the point? 7, negative 1. So 7, comma, negative 1. So it's this point right here. So you want a line that going through this point, but it's perpendicular to the red line. What are you supposed to do? Figure out the red line's what? Slope. What is a red line slope? Yep, that's it. So what you're gonna do is gonna take this and minus 3, you're gonna 3x plus 4y is equal to 12. Minus 3x. Always solve for y. So 4y is equal to negative 3x plus 12. And then you divide it by 4. And then y is equal to negative 3 over 4x plus 3. And that's negative 3/4. Yen? Either you're gonna stand up or I don't have to constantly remind you because it's gonna be an hour of me reminding you wake up, then you might just stand up, write stuff on the board. That's better than you sitting down there fall asleep. And besides, I assigned like so many questions and you don't need it too, so that's not good enough. Negative 3 over 4. And then you're gonna apply it to this point. So it'll be y plus 1 equal to negative 3 over 4 times x minus 7. Boom, done. How did that do? Oh, I'm sorry. I need to change this. I need to change the perpendicular slope. Sorry. So Austin, let me correct that. So perpendicular, I need to change this to 4 over 3. So it'll be 4 over 3, right? So then I'm gonna do y plus 1. See that y plus 1? And you see it. They'll actually go into that exactly. Times x minus 7. And just doing that, it just give you a line already. But it's not perpendicular, however. Perpendicular is what? 4 over 3?
Mhm.
And now it's perpendicular because you can take a notebook paper or you can take it like a car and you can put it over there and it exactly forms a 90 degrees. Then you know that's right answers. Okay, so next questions. Emerson, do you understand? Yes, Ashton. 2C. Ooh, 2C is a good one. 2C, I didn't expect you know how to do it. I was just pushing it out there. Um, the graph of this one is not. It's actually a circle. So to be exactly, the graph should look like something like this, and there is a circle around it. And it turns out there's a 4 coordinate at intersections. So first of all, this is higher degrees, right? This is x squared and y squared. So if it's an x squared and y squared, can I just solve for y? And then can I just get x over 3? Is that okay? So then x squared plus x over y, x over 3, is same thing as before. Square equal to 10. Now it's going to be x squared plus x squared over 9 plus is equal to 10. Does that makes, do you guys understand? Oh, 9 over, wait, hold on a second. This one is 3 over x. I can divide. 3 over x, and this one is 3 over x. 3, 9 over x squared, like this. What I did just substitution. There's nothing different I teach you yesterday. The only thing different about this one, I like about this one, is the following. Is there is some variable on the bottom. Do you like fractions? No. Then multiply by what? X squared. So it kind of built in from what we learned before. So now we got x to the 4 plus 9 equal to 10x squared. So I'm going to subtract over. And this one's hard because this one has an x to the 4th, 9, negative 10x squared. X squared times x squared. Is that okay? 9, 1, because you want to get that. Negative 10x squared, negative x squared. This is negative. So it'll be x squared minus 9 times x squared minus 1. There's a difference of a square. I'm telling you, everything you learn in this year, you have to retain it. And you have to use that and keep on moving forward. They have 4x value, you're going to plug in to get 4y values. If x is 3, then it's going to be 3 comma 1, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
Negative 3 is going to be negative 1. And is if it's negative 1, it's going to give you negative 3, I believe. And 1 is going to give you 3. So I plug it back in all the value into here to evaluate that. So even simple stuff, system equation, I can push you boundaries. I don't just be good enough. I'm going to ask you to push further. Next question. Yes. 5. What does 5 says? Okay, this is a very common SAT questions. I'm gonna pick, this is the same increase, right? This increase is 2. And this increase is what? 3.5 and then 3.5. So this is linear. This has to be linear because you have a common difference. So if it's linear, can I just take that, the 1.5 minus negative 5.5 over 2 minus negative 2. So can I figure out the slope? If I figure out a slope, what will happen? That's going to give you, I don't know, 7 over 4. Thank you. So then all I got to do is plug in a point I like. I like the middle point. I don't like the fraction one. And I love the 0. So y minus plus 2 equal to 7 over 4 times x minus 0. Now, they want to find out what f of 11, but you got to figure out what f of x is. So, y equal to 7 over 4 x minus 2. So this is the f of x. Now I'm going to plug in f of 11. So that means 7 over 4 times 11 minus 2. That's going to be 77 over 4 minus 2, which is 69 over 4. Is that right? This is a common one on SAT. Yesterday I tutored like 2 questions about this. Yes.
I didn't go to Quetzal form. I just used the 0, negative 2 and straight to.
That's fine. Yeah, that's the y-intercept, right? Yeah. I usually use point slope form just because it's like very powerful. You can decide any point because not always you have intercept, y-intercept. But I'm sure you know how to do it. Next question. Yes, Astrid.
2D.
2D. And McKenna. Oh. Oh, Zafa? Really?
Yeah, I was talking about 2D.
2D. Okay, 2D is a circle. Yeah, just this already substitute. Just plug in here. So it'll be x squared plus x squared plus 3, right? Wait, is that square is equal to 9? It's like that? Yeah, so that's gonna be x squared plus, don't kill puppy here. What I mean by kill puppy is not x4 plus 9, it's actually x4 plus 6x squared plus 9 equal to 9. So 9 and 9 cancel out. This is x4 plus 7x squared equal to 0. Factor out x to the square. And that's going to be x squared plus 7. And the x equal to square root of 7, negative 7 plus minus. This is not real. This square root of negative number is not real, so it's not part of the real solution it's part of imaginary solution. But if you got this part should exclude it. X squared equal to 0, x equal to 0. Plug in 0, you're gonna get 0, 3. You should know how to graph this, and you should know how to graph this. As far as those question goes, you need to set up the system equation. So this is the x plus y equal to 90 and x minus y equal to 18. If you solve for it, so it'll be 2x equal to 108, x equal to 54, and the y is equal to 36. Set up system equation. You gotta learn how to set it up. Some people use common sense. Like I think Lena used common sense to figure out a number. No, I want you to set up equation because you gotta be able to set up better than you can solve the equation. I don't give a shit if you solve the equation. You can give me an answer, but you're not able to set up equation. What if things got more complicated? You have to set up equation. Then you don't know how to set up equation. Learn how to build a foundation. Learn how to set up equations. Any other questions? Emily, do you have a question? No. Sorry, my eyes bad. No more question. If no more question, we're moving on. Yes.
For number 5, how you got the 7 over 4.
I do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm finding a slope by taking the points. So I take those 2 points. I can take any point. I just take that 2 decimal one and subtract another integer. So I figure out this is a nice way to figure out the slope. Anytime you have 2 points, this is very important for pre-calc. It's called finding the rate of change. In pre-calc, we're gonna use different name. That's it. I said find the rate of change of something. Take a 2 point, find the slope. If I ever in pre-calc says, you looking for Robert? Or looking for Ben? Oh, come on. That was really late. I would just left.
Probably should have, but I didn't have a right.
It's crazy. An hour and a half. What the bus driver told you?
I don't know what happened, but it was like a different bus driver and everything. And probably happened to the first guy.
All right. Any question of this particular part? Merle, you have more questions? It's Merle, right? Merle. Merle.
Yeah. I got the wrong answer yesterday too.
Okay. Merle. It's like not like Merlin, but Merle. Any other question? So all this on test on Friday because we got weird schedule. That make sense? I'm moving on. Not going back. But you should know all the linear equation. You're supposed to know less than 7th grade. But now But there was some question at a little bit higher level. All right. Today homework, I'm gonna ask you the rate of change. The rate of change is slow. It's no different. But that's okay. We'll figure out that when we get into there. All right. Functions. There's all kind of functions. This is the f of x. I'm gonna start with a composite function first. I'm gonna start with a f of x equal to, I don't know, negative 3x squared plus 1. Is that okay? Andrew, can you see? No? Yeah, I don't know you have C, but you can move up. Because C, you can move up. You want to grab those chair and then sit on the front. Grab no those chair that with no desk on it. Grab those. Are you always cannot see, or just today? You always have glasses, right? Oh. Does anybody else cannot see? Astro, can you see? Yeah. Okay, so why do we have function notation? Do they tell you in Algebra 2 why do they have function notation? No? They just say that's f of x. Just memorize it. Okay. So there are two reasons, I will say, for me, there are two reasons. So for example, if I have y equal to negative 3x squared plus 1, and then I got another y is equal to, I don't know, 2x plus 3. And I say when x is equal to 1, what happened to y? What was the question? What will be your question? If I give you those two equations, I say when x equal to 1, what is y? So what is your question for me? Do you guys understand what I'm saying? So I'm gonna repeat that again. I say when x equal to 1, find y.
Which one?
Which one? Exactly. Which one? Which y I'm talking about? So which y I'm talking about? So therefore, it's not a smart thing to just write down y. It's actually a better thing is to be able to differentiate the first y to the second y. So the reason you have function notation is to notice there is different functions. So notice different functions. So instead of write like this, I'm going to write like this. I'm going to change this to say, hey, I'm going to call it f of x. And this second one is going to call g of x. So now I can tell you says, hey, g of 1. Then you know plugging 1 into the g rather than f. Or f of 1, then you can plug in 1 into the f rather than g. Does that make sense? Now, another thing is nice is transformation. Now, you didn't know about this one. Transformation is actually very, very important to transform a function. Going up, down, left, right. And we're going to talk about that. So first reason, so I'm going to talk about function notation. Write it down. Function notation has two reasons. One is differentiate. Differentiate, I don't know if I spelled it right, but between two functions. Second is to understand transformation. So the nice thing about is I don't have to just name it f of x, g of x. I can name it k of x, h of x, f, g. I can name I of x. It doesn't matter what letter I decide to use. Then I can use any of those function. So the reason why you have function notation is to do that. Yen, you're gonna stand up. You're gonna take a notes while you stand up because you're gonna fall asleep. Oh, but you're gonna fall asleep. Stand up. I mean, I cannot just keep on wake you up. Anthony, are you asleep? Okay. So to differentiate two functions. Now I'm gonna talk about this. So if I ever says f of 1, that means I'm plugging 1. I replace the x with a 1. So it'd be -3 times 1 squared plus 1. Does that make sense? Now, some people make mistake is they do -3 times 1. But don't do -3 times 1. You got to do all the operation first. So it'd be -3 times 1 squared first. That's 1 plus 1. That's equal to -3 plus 1. That's equal to -2. So that's that. So everybody can do that. Here's the thing. Can you do this? That means you replace the x. You not replace the x with the 1 now. You replace the x with the what? X plus 1, good. So then that's going to be -3 times x plus 1 squared plus 1. And that's -3 times x plus 1 times x plus 1. Don't kill a puppy. Don't say that's x squared plus 1. It's not. It's going to expand this, and you're going to follow order operation. So that's going to be x squared plus 2x plus 1, and then plus 1, right? -3 times x squared minus 6x minus 3 plus 1 minus 3x squared minus 6x minus 2. Now, here's my question. In terms of graphing, what is the difference between this graph and this graph? In terms of graphing, do you know what's the difference between this graph and this graph? I'm going to talk about transformation, which is something that you didn't know about. Any ideas? So what's the difference between -3x squared plus 1 and -3x squared minus 6x minus 2? It seems like a complete different equation, right? But pay attention what a graph do. So I'm graphing f of x and f of x plus 1. That is very a key thing for you guys to understand. Where's the Celsius? I need one too. So next time you can bring two of them instead of sit there and yawning, and bring Yen one. Yen need another one too. Yen, you need a Celsius. Celsius is the one drink that make him wake up. It's natural ingredient, right? It's not caffeine. It's not like a.
It is caffeine.
It is caffeine,
Yes.
but it's natural caffeine.
Sure.
All right. So I'm gonna graph that function. Did you have that function right down? Okay. So what was it? 3x -3x squared plus 1, right? Okay. So do you guys see this function? And what's the other function?
-3x squared minus 6x minus 2.
Brendan, what'd you say?
X is plus 1.
To the which direction? to the right? Do you not know your right and left? Right then. No. This was the purple one. It's moving left one. Do you understand why do they have function notation now? Because function notation can indicate where the transformation is. But a lot of you guys didn't know is inside a parenthesis is opposite from the sign. So if you have x plus 1, then actually going left 1 units. Do you guys notice? So now you know, right? Before, do you notice? No? Okay, so now you know. Because it moved left 1. It take the whole function left 1. So let's talk about this again. So at first, this is f of x. And if I plug in x plus 1, the function move left 1 unit. Exactly left 1 unit because of x plus 1. So the function moved left. Inside the parenthesis, whatever is inside the parenthesis is always opposite from the sign. So it's x plus 1 is moving in the x direction. Plus 1 is, think about intuitively going right, but it's actually going left. So the function's going left 1 unit. Is that okay? Is that understandable? Okay. So now I have x plus 1. So if I say x plus 1, just replace the x with whatever inside the parentheses. And always put a parenthesis around it, so that way you don't make mistake. Good? Okay. So I'll give you a new question. I'll say, hey, f of x is equal to -2x squared plus 5. And g of x is equal to 4x minus 1 here. And I say, hey, can you tell me what is f of 2? And can you tell me what's f of x minus 4, minus 2? And can you tell me what's the difference between x minus 2 graph versus f of x graph? Okay, write it down. Tell me the comparison of f of x minus 2 graph versus f of x graph. Anybody in this room can do it. You just have to try it. The only thing you can do if you're gonna not do well is just feel sorry yourself. You cannot catch up and stuff like that. It's never too late. Two years ago, I have a student named Joanne. Joanne's the most impressive. That she go through so much in her life, that more than you guys that can think about. She's probably the bravest woman that I can find. We are talking about she go and do some serious shit, like abnormal serious shit. I cannot disclose that, but you can probably think about the worst. Can you imagine? But she's the most amazing person ever. She come in after 1 night week. She said, Mr. Ye, I want to join calculus. I said, okay. Do you think you can do it? Yeah, I can do it. She said, but the problem is I never take pre-calculus. And I say, yeah, okay. Why don't you talk to me earlier? I'm sorry, I was afraid of you. So she come in 1 night week later. I reteach her pre-calculus all in 1 week. And then I help her to catch up all the calculus. This kid never backed down. Like, what's the most amazing thing is this kid go through so much stuff, but never back down. Never says I cannot do it. Never have doubt in her mind. She took the AP exam. She didn't pass, but I was very proud of her because she got a 2. And there's no freaking way that she should get a 2. Because she's one night week behind, she'd never take pre-calculus. And she never backed down anything. She could have 3. I really thought that she could have 3. And if you want to complain about your life, you never deserve to complain about it for that, because this girl go and do some serious stuff. And she's aspired to be great things. And I know she just sent me a message yesterday. She says, "Miss Xu, I'm doing well. I just want you to know that. Don't worry about me." So you are never behind. You only choose to be behind because you choose to. You can always stay ahead by just moving one step at a time. Be better than yesterday. Did you figure out what's f1, x minus 2? Did you also tell me what is x minus 2 graph versus x graph, f of x graph? Which direction it move? To the right. Hopefully you guys told me that. It's to the right. Now, now once you did that, f of 2, it should be -2 times 2 squared plus 5. A lot of people did -2 times 2. No, you're supposed to do 2 squared first. So -2 times 4 plus 5. Wait, that's my period? No. So -8 plus 5, that's equal to -3. Is that okay? F of x minus 2, this graph is going to move different thing. So -2 x minus 2 squared plus 5. Yen, did you write it down? 92 times x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus 5. And I can distribute that. Later, you write it down. Did you get this? And that's -3. Hopefully I got this one right. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so this graph compared to this graph, right? Compared to this graph, f of x minus 2 move right 2 units. Move right 2 units because it's x minus 2. Opposite from the sign. Inside parenthesis, opposite from the sign. Got it? Okay, I'm going to talk about function operation. There are a few different kinds. So they are, this is just a review. There's f plus g of x, f minus g of x, f times g of x, f divided by g of x. So this just means f of x minus g of x. Is that okay? And that's equal to f of x plus g of x. That's equal to f of x times g of x. And that's equal to f of x over g of x. Is that okay? Is that better? So if I say f plus g of x, that's going to be f of x minus g of x. And there's f of x plus g of x. They're just adding and subtracting. I'm sorry, this is upside down. It's a plus or minus. I can't read. So you can actually find out f plus g of x here. You can find out f minus g of x. Yeah. You can plug in f times g of x and you got f of g of x. Now there's only one thing you have to make sure that as far as operation goes, g of x cannot equal to 0 in this case. Yin, come here. There's Mountain Dew for you. If you're still gonna fall asleep, I'm gonna be mad. I don't know, you can drink this, not much coffee.
Already had one.
You already have one, and then put it down. Just probably use this. You need something stronger like coffee. Okay, so they are for operation. They are very intuitive. In this case, just add those equation together. So if I have f plus g of x, that means those -2x squared plus 5, and then plus 4x minus 1. They are very intuitive, so plus 4x and the plus 4. Is that okay? This is very, very easy. If I say f plus g of x. If I ever say f minus g of x, then that's just going to be two functions subtract each other. But subtracting is, be careful. People make mistakes because they did not distribute. So they did not distribute this part and this part. And that's what people usually make mistake because they forgot to put the parenthesis and they forgot to distribute. So that is equal to -2x squared plus 5 minus
1 minute remaining until class.
plus 1 rather than negative. Is that okay? You learned this in algebra too. This is not the first time you learned this. Huh? All right. What is the f dot g? Now you gotta be careful. There's a difference between dot and circles. Dot is multiplication. Circle is called of. So we're gonna talk about that in a second. So f dot g, that's gonna be -2x squared plus 5 times g of x. And that's going to be -8x to the third plus 2x second plus 20x and then minus 5. And that is dot. Dot means multiplication. Later on, you're going to learn dot is a dot product, but in this case, it's just dot is a multiplication. Dot product has nothing to do with this, by the way. So we know how to add two function, subtract two function, multiply two function, and then lastly, I want to talk about division because this, where your most mistake is this one looks very simple, so it's just going to be -2x squared plus 5 over 4x minus 1. Now remember, denominator cannot equal to 0. So 4x minus 1 cannot equal to 0. 4x cannot equal to 1. X cannot equal to 1 over 4. So why x cannot equal to 1 over 4? Because if x equal to 1 over 4, what will happen? You're going to get 0 on the bottom, which is 0 on the bottom is what? It's what? Undefined, thank you. So all this seems very boring to you, but I have to go through it just for you guys to understand. You can have two functions adding together. You can have two functions subtracting together. You have two functions multiply together. And you also can function have divide together. Now, when you divide, you want to make sure denominator cannot equal to 0. Otherwise, it will not be a function. Yes, Armin? Yeah. If it's a 1 over 4 times 4, it's going to be 1. 1 minus 1 is going to be 0.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. You ask a great question. Sometimes we're confused. It's okay. I do that sometimes. Now let's talk about this is just a normal operation. We have other operation that deal with this. It's called composite function. How many of you guys have heard composite function before? Nathan? Okay. So composite function is look like this. So this is the one that you are gonna be tested a lot. Is this part? It's composite function. So composite function, what is a composite function? Is f of g of x. So this is read as like this. If you want to know, this is of, and every time you have parentheses, it's of. So it's f of g of x. How many of you guys have seen this before? Raise your hand. Okay, do you know what to do with it? Yes? Okay, so let's try it. F of g of x is actually known as, now every time you have of means parentheses. So that means f of, see this is the of, g of x. Does that make sense? So guess what? In this case, if I want to find out f of g of x, then it's going to be f. Now I'm going to substitute a g of x. G of x is going to be 4x minus 1. Does that make sense? Is that okay? Sorry, let me do it one step at a time. Let me do that, say, let me color code this. This is g of x. Right? That's equal to f of, well, g of x we know is 4x minus 1. Is that okay? And we know how to do it now. We're going to go to f. We're going to say negative 2. 4x minus 1 squared plus 5. Is that okay? And you guys know how to simplify this part, right? Do I need to go through again? Just don't make mistake. Just write it out. Don't be lazy. I have people in my calculus class do this all the time. Kill puppy. And I'll just write it out because that's negative 32x squared plus 16x minus 2 plus 5. And for me, it's not about who win the race. It's about who get the right answer. So this is f of g of x. Is that okay? Can you do g of f of x? And f of x or g of x is right here. And I want you to do g of f of x. So g of f of x, like this. So every time you have of is parentheses. Is that okay? And then what's f of x? Start from substitute inside.
So 2x minus 5.
2x. I don't think so.
The 2x squared.
What was it? Negative 2x squared plus 5, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to plug in g. Where's the g? 4x minus 1. So instead of write down 4x minus 1, I'm going to plug in this. Negative 2x squared plus 5. So that's equal to negative 8x squared plus 20 minus 1. So it'd be negative 8x squared minus plus 19. And that's g of f of x. Am I going too fast? No. You guys are all learning this before. So let me ask you one more thing though. How do I do f of f of g of 2? What does that mean? That means f of g of 2. Is that okay? Now, something to help you, a lot of people don't do this. They try to do all at once. I will figure out what the g of 2 is first. Can I do it on the side? Just figure out what the g of 2 is. So g of x is equal to 4x minus 1. Now, I won't want to do plug in f of g of x function just because what if I did my f of g of x wrong? Then I actually lose another point. I'd rather just plug in the value into g. So if I plug in value into g, guess what? I'm going to say g of 2. So that's going to be 4 times 2 minus 1. That's equal to 8 minus 1. That's equal to 7. Is that okay? Now I can replace that with 7 right here. And I can plug in the f. So it'll be negative 2 times 7 squared plus 5, I believe. Plus 5 or negative 5? Plus 5. So that's equal to negative 2 times 49 plus 5. And that's negative 98 plus 5. That's equal to negative 93. And that's that. I like this one. F of g of, sorry. I like this one. Sometimes I ask student like this one. F of g of f. If you read it really fast, will be what? Yeah. So f of g of f of 0. So I can start from 0 inside. F of 0 inside. What is f of 0? What? 5. So I'm going to start from inside because I plug in f of 0. F of 0 is negative 2 times 0 squared plus 5, right? So that's going to be f of g of 5. Does that make sense? I plug in f of 0. That means I plug in 0 into the f function. I start from the inner. I find out what f of 0 is. And I figure out what is g of 0. G of 5. What is g of 5? It was 4 times 5 minus 1, right? So it's 19. So it'll be f of 19. Now this one just get kind of very big number. So it's negative 2 times 19 squared plus 5. I have no idea what is that. Is that okay? Not just evaluation. So this is f of g of f. Can you get f of f of f? Yeah. Can you do g of f of f? Yeah. So does that make sense? Okay, so I want you to check each other. I want to give you f of x here, and that's equal to 3x squared minus 3x squared plus 2. And the g of x equal to 5x minus 1. So I want to ask you a few operation. I want to ask you what is f minus g of x. Be careful. Second one, I want to ask you what is f over g of x. Also pay attention to restriction. Third one, I want you to do f dot g. Now remember, there's a difference between f dot g and f of g. 4, I want you to ask f of g like this. It's called fog. Now, if you have a, do you remember the f that's called fog and golf? Like your teacher, it says fog function, FOG. No? Yes.
When you're doing f of g of 2, did you find f of g first and then just plug in 2?
No. It's not because of that, because if you find f of g first, your work is longer, and besides, if you simplify it wrong, then you plug in the value in the wrong expressions. So I would prefer you just plug in original f of g of a number, just plug in number first. The evaluation is much faster, and you're not taking the risk. Does that make sense? Because what if you simplify it wrong? What if you kill puppy while you're at it? Right? And which is most people do. So but most people can evaluate something much easier. So I want you to figure out all 6 of them. They're all different variation. So this is 3. This is very ugly as 3. So I'm gonna rewrite that. First, f minus g of x. Second, f over g of x. Make sure you write down the restrictions. Third thing is f dot g. The fourth thing is f of g of x. Fifth is f of g of 2. And last is f of g of f of 1. Yen, wake up. Get to work. You have to exactly precise on any of those things, because later on we're going to implement table and graph. So I'm going to say h of x is a graph. And g of x is a table. 6 as f of g of f of 1. Yeah, and I need you to finish your problems, please. So I'm gonna give you a little bit more challenge if we did done all of them. Is I'm gonna give you k of x as a graph. So k of x is gonna be a graph. K of x is gonna be a graph. It's gonna be like something like this. This is a k of x graph. And I can ask you another one says f of k of 5. So what is f of k of 5?
Can you zoom in on the graph?
Sure. What is f of a k of 5? I'm gonna start working on top. F minus g, they're fairly easy. They are very self-explanatory. It's a minus, but you gotta distribute a negative sign. Most of people don't distribute a negative sign. I don't like to work sideways, but in this case, I'm gonna do that. Negative 3x squared plus 2 minus 5x plus 1 rather than negative 1. So it's equal to negative 3x squared minus 5x plus 3. Is that okay? F over g, that's gonna be really easy. Then 5x minus 1 cannot equal to 0. X cannot equal to 1 over 5. You have to including that restriction. F dot g, that means negative 3x squared plus 2 times 5x minus 1. That's going to be negative 15x to the third plus 3x squared plus 10x minus 2. I figure out the first few. They are straightforward. They're nothing crazy. What's f of a g? Now this gets kind of more complicated now. So that means f of g of x is 5x minus 1. So negative 3 times 5x minus 1 squared plus 2. -3 times 25x squared minus 10x plus 1 plus 2. That's equal to negative 75x squared plus 30x minus 3 plus 2 is minus 1. Do you guys get that? Yes. What? The bottom cannot equal to 0. I'm gonna finish this so that way you know. F of g of 2. That's 9.
The one, how you like F of F, like, I don't understand how you put that in.
What?
For this one?
I haven't get there yet.
Okay,
Wait, hold on a second. 5. Your 5 is not correct.
Oh, I used the wrong number. You used 2.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Okay, so g of f of 1 is negative 1, I believe. And g of -1 is gonna give you f of -6 and -3 times -6 squared plus 2. That's equal to -3 times 36 plus 2. That's equal to -108 plus 2 equal to -106. Well, this f of 3. Sorry, let me finish this.
Also, we go to third period.
3 squared plus 2. Hold on a second. -27 plus 2. That's equal to -25. Yeah.
We go to
Does anybody know where we're going, Ashford?
All the periods.
Oh,
All the
okay.
periods. It's just 1, 3, and 7 are long. So now the second period is going to be really short.
The problem is not only you fall asleep, you don't finish your homework.
fine.
Huh?
Fine. Stay away from
I know it's not your fault,
caffeine.
It's good.
Caffeine.
It's
but I know, but the problem is that your grade is suffering because you've fallen asleep, and it's not your fault. I understand it's not your fault. I understand your body's fault, but then we had to find a way to counter it. And the second thing is your fault. It's your homework.